Council, my name is David Mitchell. I am from Centreville. I live in Symphony Village. I'm here to speak in favor of the ordinance, and I've heard rhetoric that, well, this is a stopgap, it's a moratorium. I'll take a moratorium. My eyes are burning now because of the smell of cannabis in this room. I live over on Encore Court, and along with my neighbors, we have a right to quiet title, it's called, as an attorney. And you look it up, you'll see that I have a right to enjoy my property without a common nuisance interfering with that right. This is a common nuisance. This is not good behavior. I'm not anti-cannabis. I'm anti-businesses that turn into common nuisances. Insofar as, I just can't help but think that hearing from representatives of GTI, maybe you didn't incorporate this into your business plan. I don't know, you're acting like you're surprised now that, well, we're gonna have expenses. Well, if you look up how much money's being made on cannabis, I don't think the issue of capital is a real big concern. There's a coalition in California that's brought a class action suit, the Coalition for Responsible Cannabis, and it's on this subject, period. As an attorney, I will not hesitate to pursue that. And people may giggle and they may think it's funny. I don't. I'm going to stand up for my property rights and the rights of everyone living in my neighborhood. I heard the mention of veterans. There are a lot of veterans living there, and they don't go out and walk at night. Why? Because of the odor. Again, I'm not anti-cannabis. I'm anti-common nuisance, and that is what GTI is right now. So I advocate for the passage of the ordinance. Thank you.
Good evening. Pat Fox, Symphony Village. As you know, the Planning Commission voted to not approve the proposed changes to Ordinance 05-2023. I voted in favor to support my Symphony Village community and our nearly 330 petition signers, as well as many we received from Northbrook. But I added during the meeting discussion that we needed more steps and council approvals to eliminate odor. That the ordinance was not sufficient on all counts. Eliminate odors which are detrimental to the welfare of town residents and businesses, and in order to have a desirable business park for companies to want to move into and make an investment. There was also group discussion about GTI working with the town to develop a solution to protect the interests of the residents and existing businesses and GTI's interests as well. So I went home and I added further language to the draft ordinance, which currently would only allow the indoor agriculture. So my new language starts after the statement, indoor means within an enclosed building with a controlled environment. My new language is controlled environment, which is governed by an air quality program developed by a qualified engineer and approved by the Centreville Town Council, which will assure elimination of any odor emanating from the building or buildings during the growing or processing of the cannabis. This will require installation of state-of-the-art industrial air scrubbers and filters. Regular quality control inspections must be conducted by a qualified engineer. Any complaints about noxious odors will be investigated by the town and could or would force temporary closure or cessation of activities until the problem is rectified. To meet the air quality program requirements the existing outdoor growing should be moved into an equally equipped structure by the next growing season in 2024, or whatever growing season comes first or next. An interesting code from Hackettstown, New Jersey, states that cannabis cultivation and manufacturing operations shall utilize available technology to filter and recirculate air so that odors are not discernible by a reasonable person beyond the property line. Think about what that says. That's interesting. And we know that GTI is in a number of communities, and many of them have enacted odor control laws. And again, in agreement with others who have stated, economic development is a huge principle for those 45 acres that are called a planned business park. And we don't want to dissuade businesses from moving in because of an odor issue. Imagine a restaurant that might want to. How about that, Donnie? Okay, thank you, Council.
Hi, I'm Robert Eves. Thank you for this opportunity and good evening. I'm a resident on Symphony Village. The state of Maryland has opened the door to the growth of cannabis and the sale of cannabis byproducts. However, minimal guidance and regulations have been provided by the state to small rural communities where most of this growth takes place. There's no playbook for how all of this is to be implemented while not harming the quality of life of our town and residents. Paramount also is the integrity of the ecological environment of the Chesapeake Bay. The City Council has been handed a growth industry without being given a playbook, while it weighs the required need to increase revenue in order to upgrade the town. As cannabis operations proliferate, state and local governments are promulgating regulations and ordinances that directly regulate cannabis emissions. Cities in California, Colorado, Illinois, Oregon, and Pennsylvania have all used general nuisance regulations specifically targeting cannabis operations. For example, regulations in Long Beach, California state that odor filtration must prevent odors from inside the cannabis facility from being detected outside of the facility. The cities have implemented similar requirements. Other environmental problems associated with cannabis operations are wastewater and stormwater discharges. Wastewater discharged from indoor operations are generally considered industrial waste and are subject to local, state, and federal regulations. Typically, wastewater is discharged into a publicly owned treatment plant, which must be approved and possibly permitted. Oftentimes, this industrial waste must be treated first before it is discharged into a treatment plant. Discharging directly to the ground or surface may trigger different permitting requirements. Discharging onto land that infiltrates down to groundwater are generally regulated by state groundwater discharge programs. The Federal Clean Water Act regulates pollutants into waters of the United States. Specific permits are required and enforced by the states. The Federal Clean Water Act also regulates stormwater discharges. The discharge can include runoff from cultivation that may contain fertilizers and pesticides, both of which are needed for cannabis growth. A site-specific discharge permit is required unless there are industrial storage tanks used for discharged wastewater. The GTI growing facility is in close proximity to the Millstream branch of the Corsica River, which flows into the Chesapeake Bay. For 57 years, the Chesapeake Bay Foundation has overseen and attempted reclamation of the bay while promoting regulations to protect her water quality, the health of the oyster industry,
harder time finding,
etc. Let me just say, many issues need to be resolved. Many regulations need to be initiated and enforced. It's such a small community. These are large and consequential tasks. Thank you very much.
Good evening, council members. My name is Julie Seymour. I'm a resident of Symphony Village. I'm also a realtor, and I'm licensed in Maryland and Delaware. We moved from Delaware to Symphony Village 3 years ago. Had I known that there was a marijuana growing facility behind my neighborhood, we would not have bought the home. The noxious odor from the growing facility impedes our enjoyment of outdoor activities. This week we had gorgeous fall weather. I can't even open my back door. Recently I was getting my granddaughter ready for school. They live in Northbrook. I mentioned to her, do you ever smell that skunk smell when you're at Kennard Elementary? She right away looked at me and said, well, it's really bad at recess. I mean, she didn't know what that was. This smells really bad, and exposing our children is not acceptable. Additionally, I've spoken to many of the businesses around GTI's Comet Drive location. Not one of them knew about the possibility of further expansion. One of them, Project Chesapeake, is a substance abuse counseling program. They've had ongoing issues with the odor coming into the vents of their business, which triggers their patients. The people at hospice had no idea. They just saw the building happening and then they had the odor. Green Thumb Industries has stated that they want to be a good neighbor. They must communicate with the neighboring businesses, as many of them don't reside in town or regularly visit the town website. As far as odor mitigation strategies, I have 2 articles, one of which appeared in a June 2022 issue of Environmental Health Perspectives. Odor control in the cannabis industry, stating the brunt of bad odors is frequently borne by the low-income communities, already struggling with other exposure and health disparities. I would hope Symphony Village is not to be considered low-income housing. The article went on to state that the largest grows are predominantly outdoors or in greenhouses, allowing for easy escape of nuisance odors. When conditions are right, the scents can carry far, and some individuals appear to be acutely sensitive to them, even in passing. The second article, Odor Mitigation Strategies for Cannabis Grows, June 2021, stated in part, left unaddressed, cannabis odor is arguably the single biggest risk to commercial cannabis operations due to the potential for litigation and regulatory enforcement action. As facilities scale, so does the issue of the real and perceived smell. The number one issue is that human olfactory perceptions are subjective, meaning that our individual responses to the same odor-causing emissions can vary significantly. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. My name is Thomas Seymour. I'm a resident of Symphony Village. I've been in the commercial industrial HVAC and plumbing industry for over 45 years, and I'm in favor of mitigation. The odor issue is not a new problem. That problem's been around for decades, and there's equipment out there available to mitigate this odor issue. If GTI is committed to providing an odor mitigation plan, I suggest it be designed by a licensed professional engineer. It shouldn't be done by a hygienist. It should be done by a licensed engineer. The plan should include carbon absorption filtration for the indoor grown processing exhaust systems, as well as fog systems to mitigate the odor emitted on their outdoor growing. These systems are becoming, if not already, standards of the industry for commercial cannabis grows and processing facilities. There should be a review of the final design for approval by the Planning Commission and Town Council. Upon approval, these systems should be installed per plans and specifications. When the installations are completed, there should be an inspection for compliance and final approval made by an independent source familiar with the design. The system shall be maintained and determined by the design engineer and inspected periodically to assure the systems are properly maintained. And I would say time frame wise, I have experience in developing schedules. I would say 120 days is more than enough time to develop a plan, one that could then be implemented and the systems be in operation prior to the next grow year. I thank you for your time.
Yeah.
You doing?
My name is Mike Goldsmith. I live in Northbrook. I don't live in the over 55 community. The only thing that I think I have to say is the fact that my kids dance at the factory, at the facility that's by the factory. Their dance studio smells like marijuana. The outside parking lot smells like marijuana. Marijuana is not the issue. Anybody here that wants to argue that it's the issue is not the issue. It's just the fact of the environmental factors. Also, the gentleman right here in the suit said he wanted to be their company to become a PTO, a publicly traded company. What does that mean? That now means they're going to share it to shareholders. At that point, their entire business is about just making money, okay? For all the employees that want to come up here and argue against this, you guys should unionize, because at some point, if it becomes a PTO, you're going to lose your rights too.
It is publicly traded already.
But there you go. So at this point, you got a bunch of worker bees that don't live in our town. They're going to come up here and argue against this. My only factor is I get up at 4:30 in the morning and go to work. It smells like skunk. I come home 8 o'clock the next morning. It still smells like skunk. My kids have to live with this My wife has to live with this. My friends have to live with this. Nobody cares about the fact that we're going marijuana. It's bringing business to our community. But please, we're just asking to make sure it's regulated for the others.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. My name is Michael Armstrong. I am the supply chain manager and logistics manager on site at GTI Centreville. I've been employed with the company for coming up on 6 years this November. So I've been around the facility since almost day one, working side by side with Laura Brown from when the facility was Chesapeake Alternatives, partnering with GTI. I am not a resident of Centreville, but I have spent a considerable amount of time, as you might imagine, in a leadership role on site. I've spent many hours in town after hours, attending restaurants, bars in town, spending a lot of time with the citizens of this town. I do want to say I appreciate having the opportunity to hear the viewpoints of the residents of Symphony Village. Obviously, as an employee there, we do get numb to that smell, but I want to say that I've seen GTI and this site here in Maryland truly show that we do want to be a part of this town. We are the biggest employer in the area and want to continue to grow our relationship with the town. I'm proud of the work that we've done so far. And I am confident that we are going to be able to find a way to come to a compromise here or a solution that works well for everyone. I'm very encouraged by some of the comments from the Symphony Village residents and their open-mindedness to technology that is already out there from other industries. And I'm hoping that we can move forward to a common solution there. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Jeff Mangold. Thank you to council members for hearing us today and letting us speak up here. I'm the sales director for Green Thumb. I've been working with the company since 2018, been in Centreville. The core.
You might want to get a little closer to the
Sorry,
microphone.
there you go. One of the things that has attracted me and kept me at this company for so long is the core values that this company has. We have what's called HHGTI, and that's hardworking, humble, grateful, transparency, and integrity. And from the top down, that's our philosophy, and that's what drives us. Partnership, collaboration, in everything that we do. We are a partner here in Centreville. I spend a lot of time, as Michael was saying before, who just spoke before me, with the businesses. I have to entertain a lot of people that come in there, large groups of people, and we are active in the community and very much want to be a part of this. And the plans that Laura and the leadership is discussing and the moratorium that we'd like to have in this regulation that is looking to pass, and give us the time that we need. Like my companies always stand behind their word. They've always done that. And in every community that we go in, it's a partnership. And can't stress that enough. And that's what's kept me there. And it's just been great to be a part of a company that is so committed to that in everything that we do. So definitely against this, and I'd like the council to also see it that way as well. Thank you.
I'm the single largest property holder in this zoning district, and I only found out about this Tuesday night. Is there no communication between the citizenry and the town? And I mean, the zoning clearly states that if any use in the park creates a nuisance and odor and such, I mean, that's a violation of the zoning. I have CCRs in my park that say the same thing. So I'm a little perplexed as to why it got to this. I mean, I'm not trying to make enemies and disturb the neighborhood and be a bad guy. I'm trying to develop a business park here. So there was something missed here. I'm a little perplexed by that, but that's regardless of this. I'm confident that GTI, being a publicly traded company, will do the right thing. I mean, they've been nothing but honest and open throughout this whole process. This is a whole new industry, folks. I mean, they're discovering things all the time. And I gotta believe that they're gonna come up with a solution here. They might, patent a new solution. You just don't know. Now, I'm sorry for the disturbance, I get it. I live in southern Chester County, Pennsylvania. That's mushroom country. Do you know what that smells like? I mean, some days your eyes burn. I mean, it's that bad. I mean, but irregardless, I don't see how this doesn't solve the problem in the short term. So I think it's a waste of time right now. You've got our attention. They're going to find a solution. I'm convinced of that. So I would ask you all to stand down, table this. They're going to work on it. They're going to come up with a solution because they want to stay here and they want to thrive here. And they're not in the business of, hacking everybody off and being a nuisance. I mean, that's just not what they're here for. So I would ask for everybody's patience. I feel, just flabbergasted that I felt like I was the last to know about this. I'm trying to bring new businesses into the park. I know Royal Farms wasn't a favorite, but I'm trying to, bring good and useful retail, employment, live here, work here. To Joe's point, I've been approached by some other growers, but, they said, I said, why would you want to buy, commercially zoned land, to do agriculture? It doesn't make any sense, public growing. And that's why you see most of the growers are out in counties and out in the boonies for the most part. But I would hope that give them a chance. They're just getting started on this, and I know they're going to come up with some good solutions here and try to mitigate this problem. Because as I said, they want to stay here and they want to grow here. So I thank you for the consideration and thank you for the time.
My name is Mitchell Delaney. I live on Bristol Lane in Providence Farm. I'd like to say two pieces. The first is that I have smelled cannabis in town before, but as a whole, I virtually never smell it at home. I think that's part to do with a really great forest that's behind my place. And so pivoting to my next piece, I found a memo online from February 2020 from the State of Maine Land Use Planning Commission that spoke to the odors, the lighting, different pieces associated with growing cannabis, both indoor and outdoor. So my request, I think, is to keep the Planning Commission involved with this process, to include the odor component, but also to say that some of the pieces that are mentioned in this memo include vegetative buffers and setbacks, and this speaks to not only my house and really not being able to smell odors, but I think that there are already solutions all around, and one of them being more plants. So maybe more cannabis in the business park has raised some questions all around, but if vegetative buffers like more trees and more forests could be a solution to this, I'm a strong advocate for it. Thanks.